Hi guys, this is my first video ever, and what inspired me to do this video was the fact that this project saved me 500 bucks. It took a couple hours worth of work, but there was absolutely zero information anywhere online about how to fix this, and it didn't make any sense. There's nothing in the Mercury service manual. There's nothing in YouTube. There's none of these mechanics explaining how to do this. It just seems silly to me, so I thought, I'm sure I'm not the only guy out there with a Optimax 115 around the year 2012 that has this setup for the big oil tank on the engine. So I was getting the false sensor readings, and I figured out how to fix this thing myself because I figured out the problem, and the problem wasn't the sensor, although that was the symptom. Hey everybody, I just want to talk a little bit about the sensor in this Mercury oil tank. It's out of a 2-cycle Mercury 115 outboard. Got the built-in oil level sensor here in the bottom of it, which if it goes bad, normally this sensor costs you about 500 bucks because you got to buy this whole tank assembly for Mercury. The sensor, although it has a screw on it, you can't really see from here, but the sensor is actually permanently melted into the plastic with solvent so that it's not changeable. That's good for Mercury because it doesn't leak, but it's bad for people that have a bad oil level sensor and they're getting those 4 beeps every 2 minutes on their console, and their engine's not able to go up into the high RPM range. So anyway, I've got a fix for mine. Hope this helps somebody out there. What happened was we were on the lake, it went bad, and I was getting the problem, so we limped it home. Little did I realize that years ago, the cap itself had lost the stem that retains it from falling in the lake when you're adding oil. That stem had gone down inside the tank and was playing havoc with my oil level sensor by preventing the magnet from moving up and down and floating with the oil. So I was getting a reading, yeah, but when I got it out and started testing things, I would get continuity, then I wouldn't get continuity. After all that work, I said, there's something screwy going on here, so I put a flashlight up to the plastic here, and in my house with the lights out, I could see the silhouette of this little guy. Oops, there it goes. Up against the plastic. So what I did is I went out to the garage, got some welding wire. So anyway, the point I was trying to make was I made this hook out of welding wire. It's pretty simple. I just took some welding wire, bent, hope you can see that good, an odd-shaped hook at the end, and made it long, and then on the end I made a little handle so I could twist it around different directions and manipulate it down in this tank so I could hopefully snare this thing. And after about 15 minutes, I realized holding the flashlight, holding the tank, and holding this welding wire in my hand wasn't going to work. So I incorporated my wife's help to hold the flashlight to the side of the plastic where I could actually get a view of what was happening behind the plastic. And lo and behold, after about another 15 minutes, I was able to snag that thing and pull it up to within sight of the nozzle. So once I could see it in here, in the neck, right there was showing, and I was able to grab it with a pair of needle nose pliers and manhandle the thing out of my tank. Then I came out here and I checked my continuities with the tank in the upright position and I had no continuity because there was no oil. And then I turned the tank upside down to make the magnet go this way, checked it again while it was upside down, and lo and behold, I had continuity. And I saved myself 500 bucks. I hope this helps somebody else out there. It is kind of a bear getting the tank out of the motor. The motor itself is kind of a tight fit, and getting that tank out of the back end was no easy task, but all I can tell you is you can do it. Just keep manipulating it and maybe you'll get it. Good luck. Y'all may have also noticed that the oil level sensor plug, the cord isn't long enough for this to even get out from under the oil fill tank. Poor design on part of Mercury, because you ought to be able to lift the cowling and access this plug for testing purposes without removing the tank completely, which is a good hour by the time you drain it, by the time you unbolt it and wrestle the thing out. Mercury could have saved us all a lot of trouble by just making this accessible with another 3 or 4 inches of wire. Oh well. Getting the tank out of the engine was no easy task. It needs to come kind of out to clear the flywheel. So out at the top, then kind of tug it upwards. The whole time you're wrestling against this intake seal for the air. I took these off the back parts of the cowling, the rubber trim here, just to try to make more space so that the tank could be manipulated out. But while you're doing all this, you're fighting several things. You're fighting this piece of rubber here. It goes down in here. I'm going to stick this probably on my tank prior to trying to install it back in here. Anyway, I found it easier to pull the tank up and out and then turn it sort of this to this side to try to clear this, and then to push the bottom of that oil tank up and out this way. Hey, I just have one more little thing I want to add to this short video. On the bottom of the oil tank, there was a little piece of hose, and when I say little, I mean pretty little. It was so little it could barely make it out from under the tank before it hooked up to the first oil filter. So I'm gonna get replacement hose. I'm gonna make it slightly longer so that it's easier to connect, disconnect. If you go to change a filter, you won't have to pull the tank to do it. Also, the wire itself that I mentioned earlier was too short to get out from under the tank with the plug, so you couldn't diagnose the oil sending unit or oil level detection in the tank. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and I cut it and I've spliced in a good length of wire and heat shrinked my solder connections. Now the color of the wires, the polarity, not real important. However, on the plug end, you might want to leave some of the original wire visible so that a future mechanic knows which plug he's looking at, because he's going to be looking for these blue wires. And I've used a piece of scrap wire that I had in the drawer to lengthen this, and it's green and brown, which would mean nothing to a marine mechanic when he's looking for blue wires. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there, that I lengthened the wire on the plug so that I can get to it. That way, diagnosis in the future, much easier, much quicker. I won't have to pull the tank out of the boat. Unbelievable that Mercury didn't think to make that plug a little bit longer, that lead on there. So anyway, thought I'd throw that out there. Bye.